we've got quite the day planned for you. It is not a sunny day in Southern California. It's a cloudy day, and they say rain is imminent, which means there's about 5 drops that are due our way. As you guys know, I am with one of the great ones, David Tal. We had a lot of fun on Sunday. If you did not catch that, I would highly recommend that you go to our YouTube channel, the one that you are probably viewing us on right now. Go take a look.
All right. Yeah, we talked a lot.
It was good. You did a great presentation. Tommy did a great presentation. And then I just ran my mouth during the Q&A. It was a lot of fun. So listen, we've got a bunch of things that we're going to talk about today. We are going to talk about why today is a special day in Israel. By the way, I want to point this out. It's not just a special day in Israel because of the holiday that we're going to talk about. It's a very unique day in Israel because there are things happening right now that are absolutely historic. And we're going to talk about that.
It's coming through.
Yep.
It is coming through.
We are going to talk about that. And by the way, it dramatically affects you. If you think it doesn't, you're going to have to think again because it does dramatically affect you. It affects every aspect of your life because it obviously affects oil.
And in extension, it's going to affect the elections.
Oh, are you kidding me?
In extension, it's going to affect the interactions between the United States and the rest of the European nations. And in extension, it's going to affect the United States and China. When is the visit?
I believe it's next month.
There we go.
But I want to say this right now. The markets are screaming, which, by the way, can I just say this? If you know how to navigate through the markets, it's going to be one of the greatest times of your life. I'm just telling you that right now. Like, if you learn how to trade in the markets, this is going to be a great time. And we have ways for you to learn, by the way, but that's a whole other story. We are in the midst of a crisis. And when I say crisis, I mean it's an Iranian crisis. They're in really bad trouble. We're going to talk about why. We're going to talk about the brilliance, and I will call it brilliance, and it's absolute brilliance, of a president that would actually choose to shut down the Strait of Hormuz. What a brilliant counter move.
Yeah, but let's see. I mean, they're saying that is a breaking of the ceasefire. That's what the Iranians are saying. And how do you say, the missiles started coming again over the border into Israel.
Well, this is what's hilarious. The ceasefire ends in literally another 3 hours.
Yeah, something like that.
So it
might happen live while we are here.
Oh, yeah. No, we may see something live here.
It's going to be fun.
And then the other thing that I would also point out is that the president this morning did something absolutely brilliant. And most people may not have detected it. Did you see the post that he did where he, in a very nice, quiet way, asked during negotiations that it would be considered that the 4 women that he pictured 4 women that he said would be nice to have as a sign of good faith to actually have released.
The ones that they're threatening to
kill.
Mm-hmm.
That post is like, I think the IRGC is scared to death more of that post than any other post that he's put up. Because when he goes crazy, as some people would call it, and he's yelling and he's, via text, and he's saying, I'm not going to leave anything left for civilization, and he's doing all that, they recognize what's going on, and in essence, they, of course, respond to it because they know that he darn well has the capacity to be able to do what he threatens. But when he's nice about things and he's real quiet about things in the tweet, they really get scared.
Yeah. So all of this is happening, but can I start off with this?
Yes, please.
All right.
Let's talk about that.
Here's where we are. This is what we're doing today. Today is Israel's Independence Day. Literally, it started a couple hours ago. It starts from evening to evening. And I want to say happy birthday, Israel. But there's a lot of things that what you can talk about, and I think part of what we talked about on Sunday maybe we'll connect to as we go along. Benjamin Netanyahu is literally sitting on Mount Herzl right now, and they are lighting the 12 torches. Every year, Independence Day, we light 12 torches. How do you say? Prominent people, special people, interesting people that have been part of Israel's story for this year or further on. So there's a guy that was a cook. There's a guy that was.
So Tucker Carlson won't be lighting any of those torches.
Tucker Carlson will be lighting dynamite sticks. But we kind of half expected President Trump to be there because I don't know if you remember, Bibi Netanyahu promised him the Israel award.
Oh, yeah.
And they're going to be handed out, I think, tomorrow. But, surprise, surprise. I don't know. We'll see.
What if Trump shows up to that?
That would be.
Would that be just wild?
That would be crazy.
Can you hand me that? Would that just be nuts? I think it would. That would probably be one of the coolest things that's happened in. I mean, it would just completely burn all of the Iranians.
So I want to talk a little bit about Israel today and connect to that. Do you want to do that after we talk about the geopolitics or before?
Well, we should probably talk about it before because I'm going to tell you why. It leads into a very important discussion. If you talk about Independence Day now, it opens up the door to bring up some of the issues that we are facing that we have to face. And then I also want to say this. There are many of you who have already given in the super chats, and I just want to tell you, you're all amazing. I am going to read them all, by the way, but I'm going to do it near the end. And Ray, it was good to see you, brother. Really, really good. By the way, best plumbers in the world. You can go to Ray. I'll tell you a little bit about his business. He has not sponsored me for anything, but I will say something about him. He's a good brother. I got to actually meet his wife for the first time. I've known Ray already. I've known Ray for about a year and a half, but it's good, really good to see you guys. So I'm gonna read all those super chats later. Please hold on to them, and by the way, keep them coming. We appreciate them when you guys bring them forth our way. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about Independence Day.
14th of May, 1948. Okay, is when after the British left the mandate in Palestine at the time, where the United Nations had given them some kind of custodianship over the Holy Land, they left, and David Ben-Gurion stood up based on a UN resolution, based on a historical truth, and based on a biblical promise, and said, "I declare the modern state of Israel." A lot of people ask me, why aren't we celebrating on the 14th of May? It's because the Independence Day or the celebrations in Israel go according to the lunar calendar and not to the Gregorian calendar. So that's when we celebrated it today and yesterday. We start off the celebration, I know it sounds weird to say this, with a Memorial Day. And I think the number is 25,000 after the last war. 25,000 Israelis have lost their lives in order to bring this country to its people. But David Ben-Gurion on that day stands up, and we're attacked by 5 Arab nations. And at the end of the War of Independence, what we call the War of Release or letting go, the War of Independence, we have a state on the ground, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And I know it sounds weird to say it like that, but we have a modern, kicking, problematic as it is, Western-style democracy sitting in the middle of the Middle East. And I believe more than anything that is a fulfillment of God's promise. And everything that you talk about, and everything that you connect to Israel, and everything that you connect to why we are hated and why we are adored, all of that is connected to the fact that Israel represents God's promise. I mean, always remember that. When they come out against us, they're coming against God's promise. When people say we're amazing, it's not because of us. It's because we represent God's promise. And again, again, we're starting to see more and more of this, and we're starting to see that the ones that are fighting God's promise are the ones that are fighting against us, be that on the political side, be that on the military side, and everything between. But here's the thing. I'm not objective. Look at this. Yeah, I'm all excited about this. But this is an amazing country. And when you sit down and you think about it, I mean, take a step back. Think about, and again, a fulfillment of biblical prophecy. People that have been persecuted more than any other people in the history of
100%,
humankind.
100%.
Okay? A political situation second to none. Immediately after 1/3 of our population was desolated or desecrated or whatever you want to call it in the Holocaust, okay, we come back and against all odds fight a war against 5 Arab nations where we lose 1% of the population. Let me see that. We lost 1% of the Jewish population in Israel in the War of Independence. At the end of that, we can stand up and say we have a state, and it didn't stop there. And I did this on Saturday a little bit. First and foremost, we've expanded the population 15 times more in the last 78 years. 78 years, by the way, it's our 78th birthday. Times 15, the population has exploded, meaning we've got immigrants coming in from all over the world. And we've got the highest birth rate of any nation in the Western world. I mean, it's growing. And again, this is a blessing. God said, we've revived our language. I can sit and speak Hebrew with my peers, with my friends, with my soldiers, with my kids, which is the biblical language that the Bible was written in. I mean, doesn't that kind of make people get goosebumps? The fact that
awesome.
it just happens, and all of this while we're fighting 5 major wars. Let's put it there, and a lot of other wars, and we're fighting one right now. I mean, what do we call this? A major war, a minor war? I don't know. We have more Nobel Prizes per capita than the United States, by the way. I mean, more Israelis per capita have Nobel Prizes. I think only Sweden and Switzerland and maybe Norway. But, I mean, we bring knowledge to the world. I mean, we bring technology. We're the startup nation. We have more patents, as you know, registered patents per capita, per capita than any other nation in the world. I mean, the whole high-tech industry, the whole AI industry is kind of, we do research and development for all of the major, corporations in Israel. I mean, Israel is a powerhouse. And do you know how to check the stocks, by the way? Somebody told me that the stock market in Tel Aviv is going up.
Oh, that's probably the case.
I mean, how does that happen? Well, we're still fighting a war.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably very real. That's probably very much the case. Matter of fact, one of my favorite stocks, Israeli stocks, I'm going to follow it right now. I'll go look it up, because normally that stock, that one that I'm about to look up, always gives me a really good indication for how the rest of the market is going. I'm going to find it right now, and I'll report it to you while you're looking.
So, I mean, you have to look at this in any kind of subjective eyes, and you gotta say,
all-time high.
And again, you have to say hallelujah. I mean, praise God that Israel is doing all of this. And
look at that.
Wow.
Look at that.
If that's the situation, do you understand that the hatred from Israel is what's the opposite of praising God?
Yeah,
depraising or unpraising God. And again, we're seeing more and more and more of this. Israel has become the main issue, and it's still just amazing. And I want to say it like this. I'm very proud to be an Israeli. I'm very proud to be a Jew. And today, on our day of independence, I'm saddened by those who have gotten through. But I'm very proud that we, after everything that we've done, can still stand up and say we are God's chosen people. And that's what I want you to remember. It is real life independence, real life political value, real life military on the ground in the valleys that indicate that God is still in control. And that is my message for Independence Day. And just thank you for letting me do this.
Yeah, and it's very special because that Independence Day that everybody is celebrating right now dramatically affects us. And I think that's the thing that people have to understand. There's other things happening in Israel right now that dramatically affect us, but I mean, this is pretty substantial. This is not a big deal. I mean, this is not a small thing. And if Israel had not obtained independence and we had not seen what we're looking at right now, we would be finding ourselves in a very, very, very difficult spot. And there's a lot to say about that. And I think that right now, Iran is very angry about this moment in time.
All our enemies are very angry. Before we go to before we swear off, I want to stress, though, something else. Saying that about Israel, saying that Israel is a fulfillment of God's promise, saying that Israel has done so much, doesn't mean that everything that Israel does is right. Okay? I can criticize Israel and still believe it's an amazing country.
100%.
You can criticize the United States and still believe it's an amazing country.
100%.
We have the right to criticize. And I think we said this the other day. People kind of wave the anti-Semitic flag much too fast than it needs to be. Criticism of Israel is okay. Criticism of Israeli government is okay. Criticism of what we do is okay, because I'm going to tell you, between me and you, God criticized us. Moses criticized us. Jeremiah criticized us. Ezekiel criticized us. I mean, this is normal procedure. So criticism of Israel is not the problem, okay? Hatred of Israel is a different dynamic.
Well, but can I also say this too? If you're going to criticize Israel, let's just say you're going to be a critic of Israel, and you're going to say whatever you want to say about the government or whatever is going on. Can you at least get educated? Can you at least tell me how the government works? Can you at least name government officials?
Oh,
can you tell me where the real, can you at least talk like an educated human being?
Okay, so after I said it's okay to criticize, okay, let me tell you where it does go over the realm of the anti-Semitism, okay? If you criticize without having any idea what you're talking about, that means you're not criticizing something based on merit or on logic or on values. You're criticizing for the name of criticism. That crosses the line. When you criticize for Israel that Israel does, that everybody else does. I mean, if you're criticizing Israel that it acts in a certain way, but then you don't criticize Spain or Egypt or any other nation that does the same thing, then you have actually crossed over a line. So the criticism in itself is not the problem. But if you only criticize Israel for how it fights its war, but say nothing about what other nations are doing when they fight war, including, by the way, the United States, England, and all the rest of the Western countries, then that crosses over into a different area. So, again, this is what we're trying to say. When the criticism is aimed and targeting only Israel and not a criticism of all those who do it, then I have a problem. Somebody sent me a video a little while ago of Orthodox Jews, abusing the social system in the United States. And it's terrible. I think it's wrong, okay? And saying it's wrong isn't anti-Semitic. It's no different than what the Somalis are doing in Minnesota, and they should be found out. They should be brought up on charges, and it should stop. By the way, we have the same problem in Israel. Orthodox Judaism using the system against us. Let's criticize them. The fact that I'm criticizing doesn't make me anti-Semitic. And here's what I want to stress. Fine to criticize, but if you only zoom in and criticize the Jews but don't criticize what the Somalis are doing, then you have a problem. And here's where I think a lot of people cross the line.
Yeah, I would agree. I would totally agree. And I think that's where we're going right now. We're headed in a very, very dark direction, and I think that we are building a group of people an audience of people through these social media individuals. I'm going to call them devils, right? that continue to make assertions based on ignorance. They like somebody influences them, they make a statement based on the influence that they've received, but they don't understand what's really going on. I'll give you a great example of this. I just talked to somebody, ministry person actually, who said, "Oh yeah, there's a real issue going on right now with Israel and their judicial problem." I said, "Okay, fair enough," which is like an old statement. Like that may have been. I mean, that's a whole other ball of wax. I said, "Can you tell me what the problem is?" Just explain the problem to me. You said there's a judicial problem. Explain what the problem is. Explain what the core of the issue is. Every single time, they can't tell me. I had one person. You're going to laugh at this one. And you're going to instantly laugh when I tell you this. The person says, Bibi Netanyahu's an evil man. Okay, why is Bibi an evil man? Because he continues to ignore the Constitution of Israel.
Really?
Now, why is that a hilarious statement, David? Why do you see that as a hilarious statement? Let me make it again. Because he ignores the Constitution of Israel.
Does anybody know what the Constitution of Israel is? Does anybody know where it's written down? On what tablets is the Constitution of Israel written down?
Thank you. In other words, David, in a very sarcastic way, is saying they don't have one.
We don't have a Constitution.
The Constitution is very well lined up with the Bible in many ways. There's no real Constitution.
No.
Yet the problem is these ignorant comments get made, and they play the ridiculous Candace Owens half-cocked game. Well, I'm just asking questions. No, you're not. You're making statements.
Yep.
You're too ignorant to ask a reasonable question because you just don't know what you're talking about.
Again, what I'm trying to stress is when you see that happening, you have to realize that there's more than just a question here. And again, I will answer any questions. I don't believe. By the way, I'm really upset with what Bibi did with the whole Lebanon issue. And I don't know if you heard, but the Hezbollah fired a couple of rockets a couple of hours ago on our Independence Day and broke the ceasefire that we have with Lebanon. The Hezbollah did. Is anybody yelling? Is anybody bringing them up on account? Is anybody saying anything? No. This is how it works, and this is what's going to happen. This is what's happening. Again, this is the double standard. So criticism of Israel is not in itself anti-Semitism. A double standard about Israel is anti-Semitism.
Yeah, and I'm not going to mention the name of the person asking this in the audience, but I'm going to ask you a question, and you need to answer it, and you need to answer it well. And by the way, you need to answer it with intelligence. You need to give me an intelligent answer. And that's this. If Jesus were alive today, would he be okay with Israel bombing anybody on the Sabbath? Give me an intelligent answer. Don't say yes or no. Say yes or no and give me biblical precedent for it. Give me biblical precedent for it. That's what I'd like to do.
Can I go into that a little bit though?
Sure.
Okay. According to the Bible, and as a result of that, according to Israel's political understanding, that turned into a legal system, that turned into the rules and regulations of how the state of Israel acts and reacts, and turned into procedures for the army. The life of individuals is more important than the Sabbath.
That's right.
Meaning, by definition, if somebody is about to die and it's Sabbath, a doctor is allowed to do the operation. An ambulance driver is allowed to drive, even though some Jews do not believe that driving on the Sabbath is okay. Okay, and by the way, before we forget, Paul did exempt us from adhering to the law in a one-on-one basis. That's what Jesus came to do. But let's go down that road. On anything that is life-threatening over or supersedes the Sabbath, which means if we have an enemy that is about to fire a rocket at us from Lebanon, that is a life-threatening rocket, we are, by definition, not only allowed to, but we are, obliged to fire something to make sure it doesn't happen. That is the definition of who Israel is. And again, this is another case of Israel is an embodiment of biblical ideals, an unperfect embodiment, just like we are, an incomplete embodiment, sometimes wrong. But the major ideals that make Israel who it is are biblical-based ideals, just like the United States of America actually created the Constitution on biblical values. Our founding fathers here in the United States, that doesn't mean America does everything right. That doesn't mean everything is fine. But the values, the dynamics are a biblical ideal turned into political dynamic. Israel is the same. It is a biblical promise turned into reality on the ground. And like everything, it's flawed. But the direction is the right direction. And anybody who's to look at any country and say, wait a minute, look what Israel has done in the last 78 years.
Yeah. And then I want to say this because our little keyboard warrior friend asked if there was any examples of war during the Sabbath. Okay, biblical examples of war during the Sabbath. So I'm going to answer this question, and that's assuming that that was a sincere question. And then if you want to continue to make statements, well, then we actually know where you stand. And I just looked a few of these up because I wanted to make sure I had that right. But yes, there are multiple examples of it. Number one, the Maccabean revolts, okay, took place during the Shabbat. Now, you might say, well, that doesn't count because there's no real biblical account of that. Well, except for the fact that Jesus actually celebrated the result of the Maccabean War. He celebrated the Festival of Lights, which was him basically putting a seal of approval on what the Maccabean revolt was. He basically celebrated it, okay? But let's get into other things. Joshua, the fall of Jericho, Joshua chapter 6, very much would have happened during the Shabbat. It would have to have gone during there, okay? Jesus, when he talks about the parable of the sheep, speaks of the same principle. The priests, they worked on the Sabbath. They worked on the Sabbath, okay? If you want to go any further than that, what about 1 Samuel chapter 21? Is David at war or is he not at war? David so much as goes to eat of the showbread, and that was actually praised by God in doing so. The Shabbat was made for rest and honoring God. It was never intended to prevent Israel from defending themselves.
You're going to have to help me find the passage where Jesus' disciples gleaned some wheat and the officials got upset with him.
Mark chapter 2.
Mark chapter 2. And what does he say?
He said the Shabbat was not basically what he says is he said it to them, the Shabbat was made for man, not man for the Shabbat.
There you go.
So
this is Jesus and his disciples.
Yeah. So there's biblical precedent here. By the way, that I'm not even. That's just me quickly getting on my Bible program and looking up a few areas. I could go much deeper than that. So, but again, this goes right back to my statement. This is where I'm saying, if you're going to question all of these things, at least be aware of the issues. Be like at least make yourself aware of what's going on. Don't make statements. Do not create the imposition of a rhetorical question that allows you to freely make an irresponsible statement. We have lots of people that are doing that, by the way.
But let me tie it back down to the ground in Israel, okay? I'll give you an example. The Israeli military, for instance, does no training on Shabbat.
Oh,
Did you know that?
yeah, sure.
Meaning, if it is not something that is actively saving lives, I mean, actual combat or actual security, then we do not train. We do not do exercises on Shabbat. And anybody who knows anything about Israel, by the way, when you hear the Air Force jets flying over on Shabbat, you know something's wrong because they don't fly if they don't have to on Shabbat.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I mean,
So,
look, David, these are all very obvious things. The problem is most people come and they ask these questions, but they're not really asking the question. They're making a statement.
so let's again, and I don't know who asked the question or why, but I want to use this
Oh,
as
the person that asked the question may be sincere. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm not debating that. But
I want to use this as a way to deal with this. Oh, I am simply asking a question. And where do you think that the simply asking a question crosses over a boundary? And that is, by the way, not only in regards to Israel, and in regards to any dynamic or any dilemma that we have in our spiritual world. Asking question is not a problem. I mean, the Jewish culture, Jesus was a question asker. I mean, do you see this? He would start parables and he would start sermons with asking questions. But where is the line? Where does a question become more than just a question? And we're seeing that, I think, in our culture today.
yeah. And look, you have to keep this in mind, right? There is nothing wrong with asking a question. As I said before, as long as it's not the imposition of a statement. Think about it like this. Do you think it's wrong to go to God and to say, God, why would you do this? Just asking a simple question. Something happens, you go to God and you say, God, why would you do this, or why would you allow this to happen? Do you think there's something wrong with asking that question? It's not a trick question.
Oh, it's a bad question.
Actually, I don't think it's wrong to go to God and say, God, why would you do this, or why would you allow this to happen? No problem. You know where it becomes a problem, David? It becomes a problem when you go to God and you say, God, if you loved me so much, then why would you do this? Trying to make sense of what God does, no problem. He actually will tell if it's his purview to tell us. If he doesn't, then we just continue to trust him and know that he loves us anyway, and we move on.
Is it okay to just ask my pastor a question? Is it okay
Sure.
to just ask my congressman a question? Is it okay to just ask my uncle a question? Again, where is the asking of the question that has become something in our culture today that is synonymous with free speech, and we agree with that? Where does it cross over the line? How does somebody ask a question that is problematic?
Yeah. So it crosses a line when the imposition of a question is a statement which is predicated on a lack of desire to want to know the answer. In other words, a great example of a really dark question would be the kind of questions that the Pharisees would ask. They would ask Jesus questions in an attempt to try to entrap him, but had literally no desire, zero, none, to find an answer to a genuine concern.
The most striking example that I can remember from the New Testament on that is Caiaphas asking Jesus, "Are you the son of the?" People are saying,
Absolutely.
"Are you the son of the living God?" I mean, he's asking a question, and he basically says, "I'm just asking a question."
Yep. I mean, that's there are many examples like this. There are many examples, all of which were designed to entrap Jesus. The question about taxes that Jesus was asked. You know, if he says, don't pay the taxes, then Rome gets him. If he says, pay the taxes, and the people hate him. They don't want an answer from Jesus. All they want is to entrap Jesus.
So when anybody, and again, I'm not going to go down the Tucker, when somebody says, well, I'm just asking a question, it is my free speech to ask a question. It is my right to ask the question. Do we have a problem with that?
Say that again.
When Tucker says, I'm just asking the question, and if you do not allow me, if you have a problem with me asking the
Well,
question.
Tucker's evil.
Okay,
Look,
I'm not saying about
no,
somebody.
but the problem with Tucker is Tucker's evil because Tucker actually knows the answers to the question, but because he's on somebody's payroll or because there's an agenda, he's asking the question, pretending as though he has the answer or that he doesn't have the answer when he darn well does have the answer. And Tucker is a sophisticated operative who does not genuinely and sincerely want to know the truth. There is nothing about Tucker that sincerely and genuinely wants to know the truth, and I can say that firsthand, and I can say that with authority.
Correct me if I'm wrong, and this is how I like to say. Questions are not the problem. Loaded questions are not the problem. What is loaded in the question is the problem.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. That's absolutely right.
What is loaded in, if your question is how do you say, carrying ammunition against something, then that is a problem. The question itself is not the problem because asking question is our way to understand. We understand God.
Listen, I get it, and I don't want to get like super deep into this, but I can tell you this. Like somebody in the audience says, well, I love the questions that the Pharisees asked. They're the best ones because they gave Jesus an opportunity to give an answer. Baloney. No. Those questions were satanically inspired. And those questions were designed to entrap and destroy Jesus. Just because he's the Son of God, just because he is the true and living God that had the wisdom to get around those questions, doesn't mean that the imposition of the question was not evil in nature. It was. But God took the evil and he turned it into good. So if you like questions like that, well, you there's some hard examination that has to happen. Now, I would say I'm not a big fan of the questions, but I love the answers.
Okay.
I mean, honestly.
So here's a question to you right now. This just came across my feed.
Yep.
Okay. Why did J.D. Vance cancel his trip to Pakistan? It just now came down.
I can promise you, if he canceled his trip to Pakistan, it's because they are convinced that the IRGC is not coming to the table. And by the way, this is part of the conversation that I wanted to have. And I think this is a really, really more important, issue to talk about. Is the IRGC standing up and saying, no, we're hardening our hearts and our heads to this? Or are they saying, we're so splintered that the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing? I would venture to say that they are so splintered that the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing. You have to keep this in mind. There are three major factions in the IRGC. I think this is fair to say. Correct me if you see something different. There's three major factions in the IRGC.
By the way, I just crossed my mind. IRGC, Iranian Republican Guard Corps.
Yeah.
Now remember, wait a minute. Okay, they are Islamic Republican Guard, by the way. Sorry, Iranian or Islamic. Okay, their job is to guard the revolution. Meaning they are a faction of the government, but they are not the government. And this is something that people need to understand. It's a different entity from the Iranian government per se.
But they have become the Iranian government.
There we go.
So let me explain this. There are three factions of the IRGC. The first faction of the IRGC is the one that Tucker Carlson is sleeping with. The one that he's literally in bed with, the one that the president he's making out with. Okay? The first faction of the IRGC is the Pezeskian faction. They are what we would call their official government.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first faction.
President,
the president, the ministers, the foreign ministers, all of that.
Okay.
The second faction of the IRGC, and it's critical that everybody sees this because this is very important, is what we would call the military faction of the IRGC. They're the ones that control the military. Now that's kind of an important thing for everybody to understand because they are the ones right now that are in essence mostly calling the shots. The third faction is the faction of the mullahs. They're the faction of the IRGC that in essence are the clerics that bring into fruition who the supreme leader is. Now, the last two supreme leaders have always managed to bring all these factions in, and they've always worked together because they were designed to compartmentalize in a way where they were able to work together, being held by the supreme leader. Since there is no real supreme leader anymore, and the existing supreme leader was always controlled by the military faction, actually, there's a debate between whether or not he had an influence over the military faction versus the faction that is the cleric faction. Either way, they're so splintered that if one person representing one of those factions go to negotiate, they run the risk of getting killed.
Oh, yeah.
Because the other two factions stand against what they're doing. So even if the president can have a reasonable discussion with any one of those factions, the likelihood that he's going to get the result that they agree to is almost impossible. This is why the move that the president of the United States just made is absolutely brilliant. And the move is this. It's a simple one. The move is, okay, IRGC, you say that you're now blocking the Strait of Hormuz because this is what they were hoping to do with them blocking the strait.
Yeah.
They were hoping that by blocking the Strait of Hormuz, it would cause Europe to turn against America. It would cause the GCC to turn against America. But more importantly, those are all secondary. It would cause Americans to turn against the president. So the president says, thank you. That's the opportunity I've been looking for. And what he does is he sets a blockade outside of the Hormuz. So now he says nobody can go through the Strait of Hormuz. Nobody can leave it. Nobody can go in unless we give them permission. That's after he clears the mines. And the problem is Iran now is suffering immensely because of it. Because here's the problem. Let's just say Iran, I'm going to give a number here. Iran is, let's just say, pumping 15 million barrels of crude. 15 million. Let's just give a number. There's a certain point in time where they have to stop pumping. Why? Because they have no place to store it. They do have some storage area that will take a little bit of that, but then it has to start being offset into boats. If it doesn't go into boats, they have to stop. Now, here's a problem. If you stop drilling, and my friend David Mitchell talked about this pretty well, my oil guy. If you stop drilling in those wells become over lubricated. Pretty soon what begins to happen is the crude starts separating. You begin to have tar develop within the actual well. And then what begins to happen is the well becomes inoperable. Now, if the well becomes inoperable for 2 weeks, it will go from pumping, let's just say, 100 barrels of oil to maybe 2 barrels of oil, 3 barrels of oil. But when it comes to a complete stop for several weeks, the possibility that they can get the well even going again is almost none. So if they go for too much longer without being able to pump the wells, they lose their wells. So Iran is feeling the pressure more than everybody else. By the way, in the meantime, Europe, even China, everybody is going to the Gulf of America. Why?
Gas station.
That's right. They're going to get their oil. And I think that is something that is incredible. Like you have to understand where that puts us as the United States of America is in probably one of the best positions we've ever been. Now, we're not going to feel that right now, all of a sudden. Like immediately, we're not going to feel that right away. We're not going to feel that right off the bat. We're just not. But eventually we will, because as we continue to remain energy independent, then the manufacturing that we've been relying on everybody else to do, we're eventually going to have to do ourselves. And we'll eventually get competitive in doing so, and the economics will all begin to fall into place. It's already beginning to do that. So let's just put it this way. The IRGC still says, who cares? We don't care because we think we can get the Americans to turn on the president. Okay, there's an intelligent argument there.
They're doing, by the way, it might seem feasible.
Yeah, but let me tell you where it becomes the biggest problem. Even now, as they put down the president, well, you're kind of stupid if you're an American and you're doing that. Why? Because eventually you're going to have egg on your face. But let me tell you where they have a good point. They have a good point is if it ends up going until the midterms, well, now we have a disaster on our hands because we're going to give the country to the Democrats. The IRGC wants that to happen.
Oh, they love to.
They are waiting for that to happen. The problem is this. We have way more time than the IRGC has time. We have way more time than Iran has time. If, let's just say this goes on for another month, Iran's oil industry is dead, never to recover. It will not recover. And Glenn Beck had a really interesting idea. I overheard a little clip of him saying this. If the president decides not to blow up the power plants, which I think it'd be more effective for him not to blow up the power plants and to actually infiltrate the power plants because we have the technology. Israel probably has already done it. It would be amazing if the president said, hey, Iran, look at the screen here. Boom. He hits a button. And immediately the switch gets turned off. Could you imagine if the president could say that? If the president says, I'm just going to try, I don't have to blow up anything. You can have all your people surround those areas until they're blue in the face. Here. And it turns off.
Okay.
I mean, could you imagine? My point behind it is we have way more time than them. We have way more. They have way less time.
So let's add two things onto that. First of all, I just now checked the price of a barrel. It's $95.
Yeah.
$95.
Okay.
I mean, think about this. If everybody was talking about 1/5 of the world's oil is blocked behind the Straits of Hormuz, and the oil price has not gone over $100, that means there's another source of oil kind of filling in there.
Oh, yeah. No, that, and then also keep this in mind. Oil cost $125 a barrel for a long portion of the time that Biden was in office.
Yeah. So I mean, the markets are making it very, very clear. And again, what somebody said the other day is that the United States is just now turned into the world's gas station.
I mean, and that's the thing.
That's one thing. Another thing is that as soon as he blocks this, okay, China's going to run out of oil in mid-June, according to everything that we understand right now.
100%.
And if that happens...
And mid-June is very generous, by the way.
Yeah, well, I heard somebody kind of throw out June 8th, but I don't know if that is feasible. So what he's doing is putting pressure. By the way, the talks have broken down. According to what's coming through my system right now, there's going to be no talks in Islamabad tomorrow. Even the Iranians are saying the same thing. So I think we're going back to something like some kind of a kinetic war, or more instances. Did you see that whole story about the Iranian ship being stopped in the Horns of Hormuz?
They blew rounds. They blew rounds into the
engine room.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed that one because, as somebody, I mean, it's a 120 millimeter kind of tank gun. It's very similar to the guns that we used to use, and it was interesting. And somebody said, "How do they know that to hit the engine room?" Well, if you take a thermal scan of a ship like that, you know where the engine room is.
Yep.
And they actually told them 6 hours. They told them not to get close, and then they said, "Okay, everybody get out of the engine room." It's a very different way that we deal with our enemies, and then the way our enemies deal with us.
Yep.
And that was very interesting. So the talks are going to implode today, tomorrow. By the way, I find it fascinating that the talks are going to fall apart on the Independence Day in Israel.
Well, this is why I think this all intertwines. I think the news behind all of this is just absolutely remarkable. I think that the Muslim people, especially the ones represented by the IRGC, think about these dates. And the last thing they want to do is sign anything over. The last thing they want to do is sign anything over on Israel's Independence Day. None of them want to do that. None of them.
So this is happening. The Hezbollah fired a couple of rockets, stating Israel's breaking of the ceasefire, though we have not broken the ceasefire, and in fact the opposite. Israel is holding back right now, but I think the 78th celebration of Israel's independence is going to be a pivotal day in world history. I mean, this is going to be the counterbalance, I think, of October 7th, which actually moved us in a different way. And I was watching the torch lighting ceremony a couple of minutes ago, just before I came here. There is a positivity in Israel.
Oh,
The
yeah.
stock market is indicative of that. The political situation is indicative. There is a positivity in Israel today that I haven't seen for a long, long time, and it's kind of amazing. And I just want to share one of the things. One of the lighters of the torch was a kid named Eyal Spitz, who was wounded in Gaza during the fighting when a building blew up, and he lost consciousness, and he woke up in the hospital, and he realized that he'd lost 2 legs and an arm. And just to see him walk up to that stage in order to light the torch, walking on prosthetics, holding a piece of paper, which is his speech for the torch, in his prosthetic arm. That is Israel.
Well, and I mean,
that is, I think that just represents who and what we are against everything, and no matter how. And Benjamin Netanyahu was standing in the crowd and applauding, and the whole country was applauding. I think that's kind of amazing.
Yeah, and I think that there's look, all of these things that we see right now happening are beyond amazing. They're amazing because we see it as a direct and remarkable fulfillment of Bible prophecy. And this is interesting because you said that I forgot exactly how you said it. I want you to say it again. You said something about October 7th, that this is something of
counterbalance.
A counterbalance of October 7th.
Yes.
I think that's what you said. I'm going to take it a step further. I actually think that this is Bibi and President Trump, and I think President Trump is the one that's mostly doing it. Bibi's got other things he's doing that I think are also very, very important. Bibi, in my opinion, is standing in direct repudiation of the generations of prime ministers that have made all of these ugly mistakes, especially as it relates to this two-state delusion mindset. President Trump has been standing in direct repudiation. As a matter of fact, he's reverse engineering all of Obama's ridiculous policy. He's reverse engineering all of the Arab Spring stuff, right down to what he allowed to happen with Giuliani. So there's a lot of stuff here that are really important.
So, let's play this out. I mean, come on, help me out here. And people have been asking me, okay, what now? Talks are broken up. Are we going to land troops on Karj Island in the end? Are the Marines going to take over? What is the name? The Tamu, the 3 islands?
They don't have to.
So just wait.
They don't have to. Look, all they need to do is, all President Trump needs to do is be willing to send naval escorts with any of the ships that are going in and out of the Strait of Hormuz that have nothing to do with Iran.
So everybody's going to be able to get in and out, just nothing Iranian.
Yeah. It's a full-blown blockade for Iran. I mean, that's all the president has to do. All he has to do is sit there and watch.
By the way, do you know who's watching all of this very closely?
Well, besides China?
Besides China? I just heard something about it.
And Russia?
And Russia?
Who?
Cuba.
Oh, well, undoubtedly.
Ooh.
Cuba started watching since Venezuela.
Yeah, well, but I mean, right now, this blockade, this is you kind of, I mean, Cuba, and I think Marco Rubio has Cuba in the middle of his crosshairs right now. I heard something today that he's put together a team to start the negotiations. And here's the thing. How does this administration negotiate? Put the pressure on and then tell them, okay, let's sit down and talk.
Yeah, that's exactly how they do it.
And then I have a feeling we're going to see something similar to this sometime soon. What do you think?
Oh, undoubtedly. But I think Cuba's already got enough pressure put on them. They watched what happened with Venezuela. They know what we're doing right now with Iran, and they understand the fact that the only thing that president has to do with them is nothing. All he has to do is watch them fall. Well, because every single bad actor that supports the whatever is left of Cuba to exist is already being dealt with. They're not going to get help from Iran. They're not going to be getting help from Russia. They're certainly not going to be getting help from China.
So, have you ever been to Cuba, by the way?
No.
Did I ever tell you that I was there?
We supported missions in Cuba, but I've never been there. I've had the opportunity.
I spent a couple of weeks in Cuba, and basically the idea is that after 5 days you get the idea, and on day number 6 it's really, really sad. It's really, really sad how they've gotten themselves tied up in this. Well, again, it is, and again, maybe this is something that we need to kind of address a little bit. It is a communist version of mukawama.
Oh,
of resistance.
Oh,
that they're willing to.
But they're all all of these mukawa. All of these are communist, basically.
That's the thing. The concept of mukawama is a Marxist concept, and basically it is the concept of power out of weakness. We can be weak, and our weakness is our power.
Yeah,
power or strength out of willingness to sacrifice. We're willing to sacrifice. The Cuban people, you go to Cuba, you walk into the airport, you walk out of the airport, it's like fourth. It's not the third world; it's the fourth world.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And they're so proud of these 1962 Pontiac convertibles that they have driving around.
I know, it's bad.
And then you open up the hood. Somebody opened up the hood of one of them, and it's all held together with wire and zip ties. And and you say to yourself, "What in this makes you proud? How in this? What are you proud of?"
Yeah.
Okay. I'm saying what Egypt is doing, the old world, Iran is doing, what in that makes them proud? And that's one of the things that I've never really understood. The pride, standing in the dunghill with pride. And that is basically, we're looking at different versions of the same thing.
100%.
I'm glad to say, though, that the United States of America has taken all of this on, especially with President Trump, and saying, no, we are not the reason. And if you want to change your situation, get on the bandwagon. And we're going to see that in Cuba, I think, pretty soon.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. But Cuba becomes the one where you just let it starve, and then it gets easier to deal with. That's kind of what's happening. It's almost like a modern siege.
They are starving. I mean... I don't know if I told you, there's no internet in Cuba. But, and then somebody say, no, that's not true. They have internet. Yeah, they have internet. The government puts...
Yeah, but...
The government... Here, listen to this. The government puts a Wi-Fi somewhere on an intersection in the middle of Cuba. So on the intersection of 4th Street and 12th Street, the government has a government-controlled Wi-Fi, and anybody who wants to connect to the internet has to connect to it there. So you drive around Cuba, and all of a sudden you see crowds of people sitting on the sidewalks with their phones.
Yeah.
That's their internet. And I'm saying, really? And then the problem is they're going to be so far behind, even if they do come out. if Iran does come out of this, it's going to be so far behind, okay, that again they're going to be paying for generations for these decisions that they are making, and I'm saddened by how much. Look what Israel has done. Iran is not going to be another Israel.
Yeah, that's right.
And
That's right.
here's the sadness of this. You can take a downfall, but unless you change, I always find fascinating. Look at Japan and Germany after World War II.
Yep.
I mean, they were devastated. Germany was. I mean, we mentioned Dresden, but Dresden wasn't the only one. I don't know if you know, but more people died in the firebombing of Tokyo than in the nuclear Nagasaki and Hiroshima.
Yep.
I mean,
I said Iwo Jima.
Nagasaki and
Nagasaki, Iwo Jima.
Hiroshima. But what I'm trying to say is that think about where Japan was immediately after World War II, and look where they are today.
That's the remarkable starting point. You kind of have to look at stuff like that, and then the problem is can you make the association when you're dealing with Islamic fundamentalists?
That's the question.
See, the Japanese were actually ending themselves. They were taking their own lives in military operations. And there was a very direct and driven philosophy that came from their ancient arts that drove that. But it was not this level of idealism or fundamentalism.
Well, at least some of it. I mean, you hear the stories of what happened on some of the Japanese islands. I mean, that they were the Banzai attacks, the kamikaze. I mean, if that's not suicide bombers, I mean, it's all there. And again, the concept of the mukawama, the resistance. In the name of resistance, we're willing to give up everything. And we fought it in the past. We're fighting it again. And here's the weird thing. Israel is in the middle of that. Israel is in the middle of that aspect of the Muslim war. I saw a poll in the Muslim world a little while ago that even though Saudi Arabia is a little bit closer, Egypt has, I'm going to say, I was in Egypt. I was in Cairo a couple of months ago. I got to tell you, there's no love for Israel there.
Yeah, I mean, look, what's front-facing there is very much the case, but, at some point that's going to end up changing. And by the way, I mean, did you have any conversation with anybody in the Christian community in Egypt?
No.
Yeah, see, and that's probably why you felt that way.
But what's left of the Christian community in Egypt?
Not much. Now, I mean, the majority of what they call the Christian community in Egypt is Coptic. There is a revival going on in the Coptic church. There's a real spiritual awakening beginning to happen there. But then that small minority, which is like the 0.5% of the 0.5%, that's us.
We did mention what happened with the soldiers, by the way, since we are talking about Christian minorities in Lebanon. That picture that everybody saw.
Oh yeah,
all of them are now in jail. I just now came across my feed. All of them are now in 30.
You want to talk about what happened for just a second so everybody understands?
Okay, there was a picture that was circulated the day before yesterday, I think.
Yeah, when we did our Sunday conference.
Yeah, of an Israeli soldier knocking over a statue of Jesus in a Christian village in Lebanon, southern Lebanon, and bashing it or hitting it with a hammer. Very graphic, very very bad picture. And the whole media went all crazy about Israel kind of desecrating statues and symbols. And somebody asked me on Sunday, I mean, how does this happen? And I said, this doesn't happen. Israel does not do this. We have regulations. We got military regulations. And it's I think it was Tom asked me, so what's going to happen? I said, they're going to go to jail. They are now in jail. And here's what happened. The soldiers were identified. The two who actually perpetrated the act have been taken off of military duty. By the way, they were reservists. Like that, taken off of military duty. The guy who filmed it, all three of them are already in jail. I think there were 6 people who watched it, 6 soldiers who watched it. All of them are being questioned right now, and they will have, how do you say, military court martials?
Yeah, the tribunals.
Court martials, I think you call them.
Yeah.
Israel has brought in another statue to replace the one that was actually broken down, together with the Christian community, and both the Prime Minister, the Minister of Defense, and the Chief of Staff have all came out against it. And here's what I want to say. Bad people do bad things.
Yep.
It happens all over. We have bad people who do bad things also in Israel. We're no different from anybody else. The question is not when bad people do bad things. Again, this is something that we have to deal with, and we try to make sure it doesn't happen. And you put rules and regulations and make it very clear to everybody. And blah, blah, that's what we do. The question is when somebody does something bad, what do you do? Do you make a hero out of them and make baseball cards? I don't know if you know, there are baseball cards for Palestinian terrorists who killed Israelis, and the value of the baseball card goes according to the amount of Israelis who killed. Do you do that? Or do you say, this is wrong, he goes to jail, let's make sure everybody knows that this is not something we do?
Yeah.
And I think this is something that needs to be seen as in that way.
Yeah. No, and I think Israel handled it correctly. I think they handled it correctly, and I'm very grateful for the fact that it doesn't seem to be a big international incident, which is like something we were praying for. Okay.
Well, I'm just waiting to see I'm waiting for my phone to go off with rockets from Iran directed at Israel again.
I don't think Iran is going to do it as aggressively as a lot of people think. I think Iran is in a very, very hard spot right now.
I think Iran is now like the proverbial frog inside the frying pan, or inside the
in the boiling
water.
Yep.
And I think they have. I mean, President Trump has said you can stay in the boiling water, and I'm just going to turn up the fire. Okay,
100%.
Which is basically. But I think they realize that they're in the boiling water, and if it's either if they don't react. It means that they've given up.
I couldn't agree more.
I think so.
I couldn't agree more. And I think that we're going to see a slow, which will eventually pick up speed, like a slow choking out.
We haven't talked about Lebanon, but Lebanon is on freeze right now also. Same thing.
Yeah, but again, Lebanon is in a very unique spot because of Aoun.
Yeah.
I mean, when you have a guy who is, in essence, refers to himself as a Christian president, who's now backing the play of Israel and thanking the United States of America for supporting Beirut and wanting to talk to Israel, I mean, come on. That in and of itself is going to become something pretty extraordinary. And I think it's a safe statement to say that Aoun is going to see through what just happened over there.
You think they can take?
No,
there's going to be there's going to be another civil war in Lebanon, I think.
Oh, there. Maybe. Let me just say this with the whole civil war in Lebanon thing. The representative that Aoun just selected to go do more talks with Israel is an open and aggressive anti-Hezbollah operative. He speaks against Hezbollah all the time. So there's already a statement being made there. What are you seeing?
They extended the ceasefire.
Doesn't surprise me one lick. Not one lick. Not one lick. Go figure. Why in the world did they extend it after the market closed? This makes me mad. Should have extended it before. So the reason why the ceasefire has been extended, I assume, is because somebody in the IRGC said, we're going to talk.
Yeah. I mean, there's some kind of reason to do it.
But the Strait of Hormuz is still staying closed, correct?
That's what we're seeing.
Yeah.
And Governor Huckabee has been called back to the States for talks. They might get him mixed into the
If they're calling
negotiation.
Governor Huckabee back to the States or Ambassador Huckabee back to the States, it's
Okay.
also because they're,
Yeah, I get mixed up calling him ambassador or governor.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, he's one of your good friends, so
Yeah.
I get it. You call him Mike. But whoa, man, that's the IRGC basically flinched. They
Yep.
just blinked.
so this is going to be interesting. All right, where are we going to go this week?
Well, bro, did it say how long the ceasefire was extended?
Nope, didn't get that one.
Can anybody tell me how long the ceasefire was extended? If anybody in the audience, because depending on the answer, if it was extended 48 hours or less, then I got something big to say. If it's 48 hours or more, more than 48 hours, then there's something else that. And if it's indefinite and they're not talking about it, then that opens for a bigger statement. So can anybody tell me?
Yep.
Anybody have any idea?
No, I didn't get anything.
Okay, so
Israeli news.
everyone says what I'm seeing in the comments is that the ceasefire will remain intact until the IRGC responds.
Until a response, no deadline. Somebody says
Okay.
that's going to be interesting.
Oh man, if the president's official words. If the president's official words are that
He didn't give a timeline. Somebody said.
oh, he's so smart. He's so smart. Basically, what he's doing is he's saying that we won't bomb anymore because we don't have to. And the IRGC better give us a proposal because if we don't have a proposal in our hands, the strait is going to remain closed.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is an operative term. So he's saying until they have a unified proposal. Meaning all three, is that what that means? All three, he's waiting for all three factions to come unified in that response?
What, Iran, Israel, and him? I mean, who's the three?
No, the
factions?
three, meaning the three factions of the IRGC.
That would be interesting. I'm again, everybody's waiting for something's got to happen in Iran. The pressure in Iran is so high. What do you think? I think some gasket's going to blow inside Iran at some point.
Oh, Laura Judson. Oh, I love you. I wonder if she's watching right now because she's giving me good info right now. For those of you that don't know Chuck and Laura Judson, I just have to say this. They're among some of the most amazing people in the world. I just one of my favorite parts about Sunday mornings, by the way, when I go into church. I go into church at like 4:30 in the morning typically, and I get a bunch of work done. This is Sunday. And then I go to sleep at about like 6 a.m. to take another nap, like for maybe 6:30 a.m. to take like another 35, 40-minute nap. It's so cool to wake up to those two. They wake me up. I just love them. I think they're amazing people. Anyway, okay, here we go. Based on the fact that the government of Iran is seriously fractured, not unexpectedly so, and upon the request of Field Marshal Asim Munir. So he's talking about, okay, so this is interesting. Listen to this. I'm going to explain this in a minute, right? Upon the request of Field Marshal Asim Munir and Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif of Pakistan, we have been asked to hold our attack on the country of Iran until such time as their leaders and representatives can come up with a unified proposal. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. How brilliant is that? He says, I have therefore directed our military to continue the blockade and in all other respects remain ready and able, and will therefore extend the ceasefire until such time as their proposal is submitted and discussions are concluded one way or the other. Gosh, I love our president. I am so glad he's our president.
He's playing the cracks between them.
What he's basically saying is, I got my hand on your neck, and you're seconds away from death. You're seconds away from your breathing to stop. Your oil business is about to fall apart. What a brilliant! It can't get any more brilliant than that.
So we're in the middle.
Oh my goodness! Now he's going after the Pope. Wait, let me see. Laura just sent me another one. Oh, that's an old one. I just, holy smokes.
Do we want to talk about the Pope?
I think the Pope is evil.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I don't mind saying something like that. The Pope is gone.
Okay. Can I add a layer on this that I think is interesting, because I'm watching Israeli news and that's coming in, and Israelis are seeing the Pope and the way he is reacting and saying this is another faction of Christianity.
He's another faction of the IRGC.
Yes, but okay. What I'm trying to say is to bring the Israeli thing. For Israelis, he is as much a a representative of Christianity as Chuck Smith is, or as Billy Graham is. I mean, Israelis don't understand. So they see this Pope, American Pope, by the way, being on the other side, and it looks like Christianity is raising its head again. This is the Israeli way of thinking. Okay, raising its head again against both the president of the United States and actually being anti-Israel. Do you think the Pope is anti-Israel?
Yes.
Is that a faction that we're going to connect to?
Yes.
And if that is the situation, is he going to tell all of the people who are his followers to go against Israel? And Israelis are seeing this and saying, why are we not surprised?
Hold on a second. I have to say this. Laura, I thought you were watching me online because I read the text you sent me live, because I'm live right now, period. That's really funny that you would send this to me while I was online looking for information and asking people to give it to me. Exclamation point. I just finished talking about you and Chuck in front of thousands of people. That's hilarious. The Judsons are amazing people. I love them. Okay, I'm going to do this while we're talking. Keep talking because what
somebody
I'm
just now said the Pope doesn't represent me or any other Christians. That might be true from your point of view, but think of what it looks like from an Israeli point of view. This is the father of the Catholic Church. This is one of the most influential Christians in the world. He is coming out against Trump, coming out against what Trump is saying.
The Pope is not a Christian.
Yes, but again, I'm kind of zoom in not what we believe about the Pope, but what Israelis see in this, and it just looks like another Christianity being on the wrong side of history again, and this is fascinating to see what it looks like. And are we going to be on a full-fledged, clash between President Trump and the Pope? And here's a weird one question: how did Catholicism go to the left? How did the Catholics?
They were never really on the right. Catholicism has always been on the wrong side of the Bible. I did a whole video on this a few weeks ago.
So give me a couple of the main. Why are the more traditional Christianities so far on the left wing? I mean, why are they
traditional Christianity isn't? Again, these are terrible misrepresentations. This is terrible. This is, by the way, I'm putting up a dual screen, just so you know, because President Trump is getting ready to address, I believe it's the NCAA national champions, probably in the Oval Office. If he's doing that, that means he's going to talk about Iran. So we're going to monitor that. We're going to keep this up so you guys can see this. We're going to monitor this.
So something came across my feed yesterday that talks about the fact that there is a massive shakeup of the church in all of its factions, but also the evangelical church. And I don't know, we've been kind of connecting. A lot of people have been talking about this, and there's a sifting inside the church, and the Catholic Church has gone to the left side, and everything. I mean, besides actual Catholics are for homosexuality, are for abortion, are for women in leadership roles.
Well, I will tell you that the official position of the Catholic Church is still very anti-abortion. That is one thing that is the case, but that's about the only thing they're on the right side of. The Catholic Church is in a very evil, very dark place. Very, very much so. Very, very much so.
That darkness, though, has spread to all of the different churches. And they're splitting down. The churches are splitting down on these issues as we speak. By the way, including the Calvary Chapel movement. But not only. The Baptist churches are splitting down the middle. I mean, other evangelical movements are splitting down the middle on these issues. And again, I find it fascinating that the issues are Israel, one of them. Women in leadership is another issue. Homosexuality has become an issue, and churches are being shaken up on these issues because they're trying to reach out to the general public, to the people, and there are churches who are saying, I cannot go to a church that has a woman pastor.
Yeah, but I want to go back to the Pope's statement here because Jane, my sister, as you know, she's incredibly reliable. She gives me great info, like really, really good, reliable. She confirmed what you said as far as the Pope being more respected than. Matter of fact, she was just looking at a number that says he's actually more people are taking the side of the Pope than they are the president.
There we go.
But there has to be something spoken very clearly here, and that is he is on a side of history that is going to end up spanking him, and a lot of people might not see it in the initial inception, but it's well on the way. The problem is the question is, how long is it going to take to catch up? So let me back up. I'm going to tell you how the dynamic works. Okay. People like Tucker Carlson don't help it.
No.
And then hipster preachers that want to be liked by everybody don't help it either. But what's happening is you have Gen Z who's going, for years, they've been sitting in churches where these pastors are putting on their makeup before they're going out on stage. They got all the lighting. They're wearing their $1,000 jeans. They're doing, they place an emphasis.
Do they have facials before they go on stage?
Oh, bro. Look,
Christy?
What they're actually seeing is very typical of, guys like the one who took over for Jeff. Same kind of situation. They're seeing guys like that are focused on the wrong things. They're focused on wanting to make an appearance. They're focused on trying to be cool. They're focused on trying to be relevant when in reality they have no relevance because what they think is relevance is actually what these kids are sick of seeing.
They're being led instead of leading.
Yeah. So what's happening is they see people like this. They see Chat GPT pastors, and they are running to the Catholic Church because the Catholic Church represents for them order and realism.
Tradition.
But the order and realism and tradition that they're observing is a conflation with what they're actually looking for, which is what their soul is lacking. So the problem is, and this is like very, very important. The problem is the pastors within evangelical circles like me, within Calvary chapels, within many of these churches that are standing well, must start making reference to the real important things. They must start being pastors. And right now I'm here to say this. A lot of guys right now, let's just talk about Calvary Chapel. We'll just do the Calvary Chapel thing. A lot of guys taking over these churches from some of these senior pastors that have since moved on, they're doing a miserable job. They're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. Did you ever think the day would come where Calvary Chapel Downey would not be talking about Israel during a time like this?
No.
There's a reason for that. There's a reason for that.
Well, I can't help but stress what's going on at Costa Mesa.
Yeah. The legacy that my pastor left is getting peed on. It's getting pooped on. The legacy that Chuck Smith left is getting desecrated. Now, part of that is the culture that developed in Calvary Chapel. It's the culture of non-confrontation. I mean, look, we can blame Rick Warren. We can blame, whoever you want to blame. The reality of it is very few pastors have stuck to speaking the truth and standing up for the things that are right. And that's the worst part about it. As a matter of fact, if you don't believe me, just do me this favor. If you don't believe that what I'm saying is true, I'm going to help you prove that these men who are leading churches today have no substance. Go sit in a sermon that any of these men are teaching. Wade over there in Whittier might be an exception to this. I like Wade. I think Wade is a genuine, sincere brother. But think about this, okay? But he kind of took over for a rotten guy. That's the whole other story. But here's the thing. I know I probably shouldn't be saying that. But here's the thing. Go to any one of these pastors, any one of them. Listen to what they say on a Sunday morning. Listen to their message. Find the most difficult point that they bring to the table. The one that looks like they're reading directly from their notes. Then after service, go ask them a difficult question about that point. Just say, hey, pastor, you mentioned this. Can you explain this anymore? Watch them look like a deer in headlights. Watch them refer you to another pastor. Watch them avoid asking or answering the question. It's because they lack substance. It's because they're weak. That is what these kids are seeing. And they're running to the Catholic Church because they're conflating what they think the Catholic Church has to offer, or what the Catholic Church has to offer, with what they think they need. So you can thank the Brian Brodersons for this stuff. You can thank the Char Brodersons. You can thank the people who have now taken over for my pastor. You can thank them for creating this condition.
Here's my problem, though, and I want to add on, and again, as somebody who is not a pastor, but has always seen pastors,
but can teach better than a lot of them. I'm sorry. I mean, can we just be real for a second?
But my question is this, and this comes from my other world: leadership. Leadership doesn't mean doing what your leading wants to do. Leadership means leading in the direction that, in the case of a pastor, is laid down by God. And when a pastor or a leader or somebody who's got that kind of authority and responsibility tends to let those that he is supposed to lead and supposed to direct and supposed to, in the case of like Peter, to feed, letting them decide what is right and what is wrong, what is good and what is not, is like a parent letting the kids decide all the time what they want to eat. And when you do that, you're not doing what is healthy for the child. And again, I'm what I'm lacking is somebody standing up and taking a stance. Now, Jack Hibbs would probably be one that I could say maybe we do hear him taking a stance.
Oh, Jack is. Look, let me just say this about Jack Hibbs. Jack is very real deal. Jack is like, in my opinion, like Jack is one of the last of the Mohicans. You know why I love Jack Hibbs so much? Jack Hibbs began to watch all the nonsense going on in all these other churches and said, I don't want to deal with any of that stuff. I'm just going to do what God called me to. And when he started doing it, you know what happened to Jack Hibbs? God blessed him.
Then why are other pastors afraid to stand up?
Because of every reason you could think of. What is the church going to think? What is the government going to think? What is this going to think? What is that going to think? Pastor Jack, can I just say this? Pastor Jack is one of the very few guys that was just willing to say, I don't care. You know? And I'm gonna just say this about Pastor Jack. I'm blessed to have him as a good friend.
Yep.
I really am. Oh, look at that. Am I right about this? Oh, yeah. Kurt Reed is in the chat. Kurt, we love you, brother. I'm glad you're in the chat. It's an honor. You know, Kurt, I'll say this about Kurt. Kurt's one of the standing pastors. Good people.
We do need standing pastors.
He is. Kurt is one of the guys that's numbered amongst us. He's a good guy. He's one of us for sure.
So I'm going to repeat, I think, what we've done or said here today. The Bible says that Israel is going to become a stumbling block for nations, and I'm going to kind of expand that. It looks like Israel has become a stumbling block for all of the places where there is a decision to be made. Israel has become a stumbling block for the MAGA movement. And it is splitting on its support for Israel. Israel is becoming a stumbling block for, by the way, the European nations and the United Nations. Israel has become a stumbling block. Israel has become a stumbling block for the Muslims living across the world who have to decide what to do. But I'm sorry to say that Israel is becoming a stumbling block, and how we relate to Israel and how we decide about Israel and how we teach Israel is becoming a stumbling block even in the churches who are the Bible-based evangelical churches. And I think, like God has done before, not because of who we are as Israelites, Jews, whatever you want to call us, but because we are the indicators of the situation. I think we're going to see Israel as a stumbling block even in a lot of the churches.
It's because of who God is, bro.
Exactly.
I mean, if you really think about it, it's all because of who God is. And I think there is so much to be said about the current state of affairs that we're in right now.
The church is being tested, James. The church is literally now being tested. The churches were tested in the 1930s. The churches are being tested now, I guess, basically on the same issue. And it's going to be fascinating to watch.
And look, I think that on a lot of levels, we have to start paying better attention. We have to.
Yes, somebody mentioned in the chat that Jesus said this was going to happen. That's so totally true.
But
I mean, okay, I'm going to say Jesus and everything leading up to him as an indicator. And yes, the Bible does put a searchlight or a flashlight or a spotlight on what is going on in the world today. But again, it seems so clear to some of us. It seems so unclear to many of us. We need to help those who don't understand to understand better.
Yeah, amen. By the way, we did put access into Jack's. I think our moderators sent a connection over to Jack Hibbs's YouTube or his site. We also did it for Kurt's as well. For Kurt Reed. If you're in the Las Vegas area, man, that guy is a light over there. But we put up a link to his YouTube channel in the notes there in case you guys are interested in it. There's good content. He's one of us, good brother. And then we've got the Balagan Connection stuff of course we always put up. It's also in the show notes. I will just tell you, that I blame the church.
Yeah.
And I don't consider the Catholic Church the church.
Well,
if
yeah,
that makes sense. I mean,
thank goodness for that.
I blame the church. I blame the church. I blame people. Like, look at here, because here's my thought. This is the way I think. This is the way I process this stuff. Right. Look at the platform that God has given me.
Okay.
I mean, I can argue that of the Calvary Chapel pastors, I'm probably in the top 3 in terms of the size of the platform.
Okay.
Right? You got Greg Laurie. You've got Jack. You know what? Gary over there in Virginia, who's another just
check it
amazing
out.
guy.
And those are the ones who are outspoken.
Amazing guy
for Israel.
So I might be in top 3 to top 5. But let me just say this. Okay? God gave us this platform for a reason. God put us here for a reason. We minister to millions and millions of people a month. I would be amiss, completely amiss, to not be doing this. And those of us that are serving the Lord, I mean, we ought to be doing this. We really ought to be. It's being neglected right now. Dr. Andy Woods is another good one. Yeah, you guys are right.
There's a couple.
There's a lot of good guys out there. A lot of good guys out there.
But there is a lot of silence, and there is a lot of silence about Israel right now.
Yep.
And it's surprising. By the way, I think I've said this before. As a Jew, I'm not surprised. As a Christian, I'm disappointed. And
I get it. I get it.
That's part of this. I do want to remind people, though, that the way it looks from a Jewish mindset, an Israeli sitting in Israel who sees people like Tucker's name speaking out in the name of Christianity, people like the Pope speaking out in the name of Christianity, it gives us a feeling that Christians are not on our side. Which is why one of the things I want to stress, especially on today's Independence Day, on our Independence Day, if you know anybody Israeli, if you know anybody Jewish, reach out. Reach out and be a counterbalance, be a difference from what Israelis and Jews are picking up from all over the world. Reach out with Jesus, with the love of Jesus to God's chosen people right now. And that's basically one of my main requests for people to do on Israel's birthday.
Yeah. And we should all be celebrating. I mean, you really think about it. Like, what a blessing. What a blessing that God has given us what he's given us. It's tremendous. It's absolutely tremendous.
So, yes, I see more names coming up, and I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. I want to stress that there are those standing up. There are those who are making noise. We need more.
Geopolitical is another great example of a really good brother. Yes. I know that name just got thrown out. I know someone mentioned Barry Stagner, a good guy. I mean, there's a lot of good guys out there. But Joe is literally right around the corner from me.
Yep.
He's maybe 2 or 3 miles away, and literally one of the heroes of the faith. Another just good brother. Him and his wife are amazing people. I absolutely love them. There's a lot. We're blessed. We got a lot of good guys. There's a lot of good guys out there that are fighting. You know, of course, Tommy, but we got to get Tommy pastoring again. Sooner than later. Tommy is a national treasure. I think he's a huge blessing. So I don't know. We may. Oh, there it is. Okay, the president's coming up.
All right.
I am very curious to see if
let's see if we can do this live.
President of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
I'll probably get YouTubed. Like, YouTube's going to hit me for that song, so I'll just wait for a second until the song is done. I'll have him go up there. The second the president goes up, we're going to let him talk because he might be talking about Iran right away. He is addressing the NCAA, but he may just mention Iran right away, right now. I mean, I would assume so.
Kind of kick you for playing that song?
Yeah,
mean, that's like.
I know it's ridiculous.
I mean, would they have a problem with the national
I'm
anthem?
muting it. I got hit for the national anthem. I got hit for a couple of things. Oh, here it is.
Sure, I don't want to have anybody leave unhappy. Please sit down. There's no place like this, right? The White House. Coach, what do you think?
He's definitely gonna talk about Iran. I would assume so.
I said, what are your handicaps? +4. I said +4, +5 even. That's good stuff. He actually said higher than that. I said, you got to be kidding me, right? That's great. Congratulations. Great team. I heard about the team. And I heard about all the teams this afternoon. We're joined by not one, not two, but 7 collegiate championship winning teams from all across the country. Champions, every one of them. And these are student athletes that have demonstrated remarkable talent and discipline. And we're born a little bit lucky with talent because I'm not sure, Coach. I'm not sure. I look at all these great coaches.
If he keeps talking about the NCAA, we'll actually let it play until we see him beginning to talk about Iran. That might be the better thing to do. I don't know. We'll see. But we'll watch him for just a few minutes and see if he starts talking about Iran.
It's very special to the winners here today. Welcome to the White House, a very, very incredible place. I pinch myself every time I walk through the White House. I say, this place is really something, and it's a great honor to have you because you're very amazing people. Among those joining us this afternoon are the 2025 Division I men's golf champions. Why don't you stand up when I introduce you for a second?
So I think we'll just wait until he finishes introducing them and talking about them because I think he's going to have to mention Iran in just a minute. So maybe we can just talk while we're doing this. Yeah, we have a lot of things that we need to be concerned with, especially with what's happening with not only the likes of Tucker Carlson, but many people who are allowing themselves to be given to the nonsense that's going on within the Catholic Church. It's a big problem.
Why is it that the Catholics seem to be more anti-Semitic, though, than other denominations? I mean, one of the reasons that we kind of believe that Candace Owen turned on after working for PragerU and for Ben Shapiro, okay, one of the reasons is she married a Catholic.
Yeah, you know what? Listen, Candace Owens was shacked up with her boyfriend and then ends up meeting her husband and marrying him 2 weeks later while she was shacked up with her boyfriend. She's an unprincipled person, okay? She is in many ways, what they would call a money hoe, okay? She just looks for power and she looks for money. She's going to go and she's going to chase after whatever gives her the most prominence. So she's not a principled person by any stretch of the imagination. She doesn't hate the Jews because it's a principled thing. She just does it because she knows it's going to make her more money.
I'm using Candace, but on the whole, I've noticed, okay, again, it's a tour guide in Israel, that the groups that come from more Catholic backgrounds tend to be more, we don't care about Israel. Israel's not part of the story, the state of Israel, the modern state of Israel. There is how do you say, an anti-Israelism in that more than in other places.
Yeah. No, I'm not debating that one bit. But again, a lot of that comes because of the absence of the teaching of God's word.
And yeah, and I'm going to say the void, the openness that is opened up.
Yeah, so I think that's what's going on, and this is not this shouldn't be a surprise. None of this should be a surprise.
So, what are we looking at?
Well, he's addressing the NCAA right now. He's talking about all of their accomplishments. These are the NCAA champions. Talking about the accomplishments of the athletes right now. But I suspect at one point he's going to break away and he is going to end up talking about Iran. So that's what we're watching for right now. I'm looking at the subtitles of his speech just to make sure that we're not going to miss anything. Because I suspect that he's going to bring up some pretty substantial information.
So okay, so I'm going to go back to what we were talking about before and see if I can kind of ask a more direct question. Kind of do this. Somebody who's in a church that she has been in for a long time, like the teaching, like what's going on, but they realize that there's a lack of connection to Israel, or there's a lack of standing up for different. What should that person do?
I think that person should talk to their pastor, and if their pastor doesn't want to do anything, they should move on. They should move on to a church that's teaching the Bible.
So
I think they should vote with their feet.
Okay, I got you. And what can we do to help these people?
I mean, what we do to help these people is we continue to tell them, and the goal and the hope is that we, as the body of Christ, that we get more aggressive with it. That's why I'm asking everybody to pray that the Lord would provide for us this building that we hope to be able to get. Because the moment that building comes in, we're going to start doing conferences for people in ministry. We're going to start a more aggressive education campaign to try to get people to understand what the real mission is. Because if you ignore Israel, that means you're ignoring the Bible.
Do you want to explain about the building that we're talking about, since we are waiting here for a couple of minutes?
Yeah, I mean, look, the Lord has blessed us with an opportunity to be able to buy a building. It's going to cost us millions of dollars, and so we're praying and asking the Lord to provide for us the millions that we need. We're on a limited, very, very limited timeline. We're probably 2 weeks away from the do or die moment. And so we're asking that the Lord would provide for us, that we'd be able to just immediately go into the lenders and say, here we go.
Mm-hmm.
If it happens, we get 1,000-seat sanctuary. We get 50 classrooms. We get the opportunity to make a massive difference in people's lives, including on a national level. I mean, look at how effective we are right now. I mean, if you take that open door, it would make a difference. And we would immediately go back to 2 services, which would be a blessing. And we could serve a lot more people. And when I say a lot more people, I mean a lot more people.
So, do we want to do a couple of questions while we wait for this to kind
Yeah,
of...
we could take some questions. While we're doing that,
I want to take questions about Israel. Somebody asked me something weird about Israel. That
good.
nobody
Okay,
knows.
let's
I'm
do
waiting.
that.
I'm waiting.
While we're doing that, I'm going to do this. I'm going to read a couple of the. I'm going to read a couple of the super chats. Thank you. My brain is a little. Let me find that here. Okay, I'm going to read a few of these because they are.
Ooh, that's an interesting
important
question.
Well, okay, well, good. Then I want you to answer whatever.
Well, I think I'm going to need your answer on this one.
Okay.
Somebody asked, have you heard that TPUSA is endorsing a Republican Muslim in Arizona?
I don't know. I'd have to go find out. I could call Erica and ask her. I talk to Erica every day, so I could find out. Okay, let's go over some of these super chats. Brad, you're saying I really love the Sunday night conference. Very good insight from 3 of my favorite teachers. If you haven't watched it, check it out. Thank you. You guys are awesome. Brad, you're awesome. Let's see here. Ilhan Omar stated her worth of $6 to $30 million adjusted between 18 to 95K was an accounting error. Yeah, right. I'm guessing they teach accounting at the Learning Center. Yeah, that's you're not wrong about that. Let me tell you. I mean, she's such a thief. She's such a crook. Brad, you also say, Brother James, I really love Brother David's insights. Would it be possible to install a seatbelt in his hyper chair?
Oh, yeah. We're still laughing about that one. We are still laughing about that one.
And then Brad also says, Happy Independence Day, Israel. Ray Goldsboro, you say, have a great time. Had a great time meeting you, Pastor James, David Tall, and Tom Hughes at your church on Sunday evening. Thank you for all the great information on what's going on with the nation of Israel. God bless you and your ministry. You're amazing, Ray. Thank you. You need good plumbing. You go to Ray. Ray is the man. He's the guy. Let me look at some of these newer. Badger Girl for God, thank you. You said you're my favorite pastor. That's very sweet. Thank you so much.
Oh.
Diane Graham, thank you. Incredibly generous. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, you got some questions? David?
That was the only one I had.
Okay. Did you read it? Or did I miss it?
That was about supporting a Muslim representative.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. Okay, so I'd have to go in. I'd have to go in and actually. I'll talk to Erica. I talk to her every day, so I'll ask her. I'll ask her what's going on.
And since we are wrapping up the Israel thing, I mean, I just want to say, listen, my dad used to say, and I think I probably repeated it this week a couple of times, if you want to see the fingers of God meddling in the affairs of men in the world today, look at Israel. Just look at Israel. I mean, Israel, in so many different ways, is indicative that God is still is in control. Now, not that God needs us, to for anything, but it helps us see who and what God is. And I think that's what makes Israel so massively important in so many ways.
Yeah, amen. And I think more than ever, look, we're the ones that are blessed when we get behind Israel. God's already behind Israel. Israel's gonna thrive. It's not gonna survive. It's gonna thrive. And we're gonna watch that happen. The question is, do we want to be on the right side of history? And I think that's the most important aspect of this. You know what I mean? And I think that it's important that we can't ignore it. If you want, we can cut over to the president a little bit. He might be getting close to the discussion of Iran. Do you want to do that?
I'm okay.
Okay, let's do that.
Putting a 5-year eligibility cap for college players, because students right out of high school should not have to compete against players that are 28 or 29 years old who decide they can make more money staying in college than they can.
I think he's almost done on the college side, the college discussion talk. I think that's going to happen pretty soon. I think he's going to take some questions. I think he's going to have to take questions. Well, he doesn't have to do anything, but I think he's going to take questions. And the moment that happens, I mean, get ready, like pop the popcorn. It's going to get very, very interesting to see what he says. Right now, he's just talking about college sports. So it should be interesting to see what happens as we cut him in and he starts talking about Iran. I think he's getting close because he's talking about scholarships and boys and girls sports and girls and boys sports and all that other nonsense. So I think he's almost done with that. And when he does, I think he's going to end up talking about Iran. So let's see here. Let's see. Let's cut over. Let's take a listen to him for a while.
Destroying the colleges economically because they're being paid so much that the colleges are losing so much money. It's not sustainable. So in recent weeks, the White House has convened many of the most respected sports figures and commissioners in the nation. We had all of them here, just about all of the top people, 64 of them, including Nick Saban, one of the greatest coaches ever, Randy Levine, the head of the New York Yankees, Bryson DeChambeau, a rather good golfer. What's he? Pretty good coach. He'd make your team even, right? I don't know. That's a pretty good team. He will make your team. Tim Tebow, wonderful guy. Charlie Ward, Adam Silver. This incredible group developed a strong set of recommendations, and my administration is committed to working with Congress to get them through. I signed an executive order instituting those recommendations, and it's going to clean it up a long way. It's going to take it a long way. 75% of Olympians competing for Team USA play.
Yeah, he'll get there eventually.
We're going to have to wrap it up soon.
Okay. All right. Where do you think the negotiations are going to start up again?
I think you're right. I think he's going to he's sweating them out. He's got them in the pan. The water is getting hotter, and those frogs are either going to fry in that pan, or they're going to have to jump out.
Yep.
And I think I think your call on that one is right. Definitely right.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. All right. Well, listen. Yeah, we're coming up on the 2-hour mark here. And I don't know if he's going to make any I think he's going to make comments near the end, but we've got to get rocking and rolling. So we're going to do exactly that. Maybe we'll give it any more. We'll take one or two more questions. David, if you can look for questions. We'll take one or two more, and then we'll get out of here if he doesn't start talking about Iran. He's closing his book right now. Okay, he's closing his book. So let's see if he talks about it here.
Microcosm of life. The beautiful thing, you know in 2 hours or you know in a season how you are in life. Sometimes you have to go a lot of years before you can figure it out. But I have to say, you are unbelievable champions. I admire and respect all of you, and it's an honor to have you in the White House, and you'll come back. And who knows, someday you might, one of you or two of you or three of you, Susie, what do you think, might come back as me? You don't want that. I don't think you want that. I don't think, it's not worth it. But it's an honor to have you here, and congratulations. And here we have some beautiful trophies, as you see. And we're going to be giving things out, and we're going to be seeing maybe some of you later. You're going to hang around and enjoy the White House for a little bit. And thank you very much for being here. Appreciate it. Thank you very much, everybody.
Oh, what a bummer. I thought for sure.
Everybody did.
Ugh. All right. Well, sorry to let you guys down. I thought for sure he was going to do a speech. I was convinced of that. Well, I at least mention Iran. All right. Well, David, you want to close this up?
Well, yeah. I saw, by the way, Huckabee's speech. He was at some kind of event with the president of Argentina that's in Israel.
That's Malay. Yeah, good guy.
And what Huckabee stressed was the interconnection between the United States and Israel today is on a level that we've never seen. It's kind of amazing.
Amen to that. I could not be more thankful to the Lord for that. I'm going to tell you that right now. Thank you, Lord Jesus.
Well, the fact that everybody's saying that he's been pulled back to the United States, I think is very, very interesting. We're going to have to see what's going on.
Yeah, I wonder.
Look out into that.
I wonder what's going to happen with that. That's a very interesting thought.
Okay.
We'll have to see.
We got an I mean, I say this every week, James. We've got an interesting week we're heading into.
Bro, there is so much. There is so much that we're waiting on here.
There's no such thing as an interesting week. By the way, what hasn't been mentioned, we didn't mention all day and we don't see it? Gaza.
Yeah, well, I mean, Gaza's out of the...
It's like...
And the two-state delusion. So, it's completely out of the picture.
So here's the thing. We have taken over a piece of Gaza, basically put a security zone on the border between us and the population of Gaza. We have put another security zone on the border between us and the Shiite population in Lebanon. I wouldn't be surprised. By the way, and we have added on to the security zone on the border with Syria.
Yep.
I wouldn't be surprised if somehow that gets frozen into place.
Oh,
until some major difference. Israel is actually saying we are going to deal with the threats on our people, not inside our border, but on the other side. I think that's what we're going to see.
Yep. I would completely agree.
So that's going to be interesting. Let's do it.
Okay, let's pray, brother. Go for it.
Avinu Shebashamayim, we just want to say thank you that we can sit here and talk about what's going on. We pray for the people of Israel. We pray for the state of Israel. And we want to thank you for this amazing beacon of your promise that is literally kicking, thriving, yelling, and living in the middle of the land that you chose for your people. I just want to say thank you. Just thank you that connection that was made so many years ago is still alive and kicking today. Thank you that is the beacon. Thank you that even that is the target that the enemy aims its arrows at, because that means that you're still in control. And I just want to thank you for the state of Israel, for the people of Israel, for everything that they represent and everything that you've done for your chosen people. And I think this is something that we want to kind of praise and thank you for. Thank you that we can be here. Thank you for our president here in the United States that is walking the path, at least it seems, that is on your mission and according to your plan. And thank you for all of us today. We pray for our people. We pray for our nations. We pray for our children, grandchildren. We pray for our communities, that they will see your light as soon as possible. And we pray this in the name of your son, Yeshua. in whom we are all blessed. Amen.
Amen and amen.
Amen.
We love you guys. God bless you. Get out there. Keep fighting the good fight. Look to the Lord. There's a lot of things happening. Keep your eye on him. We love you guys.